The story begins on the eve of the year 2076, when a game unexpectedly manifested into reality. Countless perilous dungeons, teeming with monstrous creatures, invaded the world, and powerful beasts ruthlessly slaughtered humans, pushing humanity to the edge of extinction. However, amid the devastation, some humans were granted divine talents and awakened as mighty hunters. These hunters rose to challenge the invaders, ultimately saving the world from destruction. A new era was born, where the strong were revered, and the law of survival of the fittest prevailed. To maintain their standing, hunters had to constantly grow stronger. In the relentless pursuit of power and wealth, these formidable individuals ventured into treacherous dungeons, battling bosses, acquiring treasures, and leveling up, ushering in the age of global hunters. In the present day, at Hunter's Square, a hunter descends the stairs with a sigh of disappointment. He laments not having obtained a rare profession, finding himself stuck in the most ordinary warrior class. As he glances at his personal panel, it displays his name, Su Yang, along with his profession and stats. Su Yang recalls that in the early stages, warriors struggled with close combat, requiring substantial time and effort for cultivation, only to deliver lackluster results compared to other professions. In this world, the warrior class remained the most common and mediocre profession. As Su Yang descended the stairs, a group of wannabe thugs approached him, their expressions full of mockery. They had heard the rumors. Su Yang had awakened into what was considered the most worthless class, the warrior, and they found it fitting for someone like him. Without a word, Su Yang cast them a sideways glance, recognizing their faces, but not feeling inclined to engage with such insignificant figures. One of the thugs, a purple-haired young man, casually draped an arm over Su Yang's shoulder, taunting him. He remarked that a newly awakened warrior was just an ordinary person with slightly more strength, and in Su Yang's case, an orphan without money or connections, he'd have no hope of being accepted into a guild. His suggestion was that Su Yang should consider becoming a laborer, implying that it would be a better fit for someone in his situation. Before the thug could finish his ridicule, Su Yang clapped his hands together, sending out a shockwave that startled the group. With a cold, detached look, he questioned where the annoyance had come from, clearly unnerving the purple-haired thug. As the smoke from his hands dissipated, Su Yang realized the thug was his classmate, Wang Fei. Su Yang calmly congratulated Wang Fei, acknowledging that he had heard Wang Fei had awakened into the rare Ice Mage class. However, his tone quickly shifted as he pointed at Wang Fei, a flash of anger in his eyes. Su Yang reminded him that mags were known for their weak physical strength immediately after awakening and suggested they put that to the test. Wang Fei, now clearly unsettled, retreated behind his friends, his arrogance fading into confusion. He couldn't comprehend how Su Yang, someone who had just awakened into the so-called garbage warrior class, could act so brazenly. Just as tensions were about to escalate, one of Wang Fei's lackeys shouted for him to take a look at something. Both sides paused, curiosity drawing their attention toward whatever had caught the lackey's eye. One of the lackeys suddenly shouted in alarm, pointing out that the approaching group was none other than the raiding team from the prestigious Spirit Hunt Guild. Another thug, visibly panicking, could hardly believe they had crossed paths with the guild's raiding team here. Su Yang turned his gaze toward the approaching group, recognizing the significance. The Spirit Hunt Guild was one of the strongest A-tier guilds in East Spirit City, a force to be reckoned with. As the level 95 4th Hunter, a Storm Archer, made his way up the stairs and approached the gathering, he commanded the crowd to clear a path, making it clear that he was in a hurry. The onlookers were left in awe, stunned by the sudden appearance of such a powerful figure. Su Yang quickly recognized the man as Zhao Ming, the Spirit Hunt Guild's vice president, someone he had only ever seen in promotional materials and guild advertisements. While Su Yang was lost in thought, Wang Fei, the purple-haired thug, abruptly shifted his attitude. Seizing the opportunity, he rushed forward, eagerly approaching Zhao Ming. His once mocking tone now filled with admiration, Wang Fei asked if the Spirit Hunt Guild was recruiting, boasting about how he had always admired them. He was about to start describing his profession when a woman behind the vice president interrupted, informing him that the recruitment team was further down and that they were just the raiding team. She told him to step aside. Zhao Ming, overhearing the exchange, curiously asked Wang Fei what his profession was. In an instant, Wang Fei proudly revealed that he was an ice mage, emphasizing that it was a rare profession and that he specialized in control. Zhao Ming acknowledged that it was indeed a good profession and instructed one of his teammates to hand Wang Fei a card. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Wang Fei thanked him profusely, his demeanor now entirely transformed from the brash thug he had been moments earlier. After receiving the card, the blonde woman coldly instructed Wang Fei to head down later and submit his information to the recruitment team. Su Yang, watching this unfold, felt an intense wave of frustration boiling within him. He couldn't believe how smoothly things went for Wang Fei simply because of his rare profession. Doubts gnawed at him. Would it be as easy for him as a warrior? The other thugs, emboldened by Wang Fei's success, also stepped forward, revealing their professions. One claimed to be an archer, and another a thief. The blonde woman barely looked at them, advising the archer to check in with the branch office while dismissing the thief with a wave, telling him not to waste her time. Encouraged by the interaction, Su Yang gathered his courage and asked if he could join as well, revealing himself to be a warrior. The blonde woman turned and cast him a disdainful look, her disgust evident. Without bothering to answer, she simply turned her back on him and continued up the stairs with Zhao Ming, the vice leader. As the other thugs slumped in disappointment, their initial hopes dashed, Su Yang was left questioning the harshness of his reality. The brutal truth hit him: in this world, where the strong are revered, only strength truly mattered. A hunter's profession often dictated their future potential, and for Su Yang, being chosen as a warrior felt like a curse. His fate seemed sealed the moment his class was determined. Even lower-tier guilds hesitated to recruit warriors, knowing their limitations. The elite members of Spirit Hunt Guild wouldn't even give him a second glance. Still lost in thought, Su Yang overheard a conversation between two bystanders. One of them, clearly envious of those accepted by the guild, lamented how he, too, wished to join a guild and rise to power. The red-haired man beside him advised against it, saying there was no point in envy, especially with people as powerful as the fourth Storm Archer involved. As he sat down, the red-haired man remarked how unexpected it was to see the Spirit Hunt Guild's vice president here. The other man, intrigued, asked if he hadn't heard the rumors. Today, Spirit Hunt Guild was planning to raid the Black Dragon's lair, one of the most dangerous dungeons in the region. They speculated that the guild was using the teleportation gate nearby to reach the dungeon's entrance. As Su Yang turned to leave, the last part of the conversation struck him like lightning. The revelation that the Spirit Hunt Guild was preparing to raid the Black Dragon's lair left him in shock. He knew well what that meant. The Black Dragon's lair was the most dangerous S-tier dungeon in City C, a sprawling labyrinth filled with countless smaller monsters and powerful elite creatures. The risk was immense. Though death in this world didn't equate to instant annihilation, the consequences were severe. Losing levels and experience was crippling, and the competition between top guilds made the loss of rare equipment even more devastating. The ultimate threat in the lair was the level 99 Black Dragon, Athos, known as Black Flame Wings. Su Yang had heard rumors of even the most powerful S-ranked guilds being crushed by the dragon's overwhelming might. Despite the danger, the Spirit Hunt Guild's raiding team was known for their incredible strength, boasting numerous hunters who had reached 4th Transcendence or higher. They had never failed a raid, adding to their legendary status. Su Yang, lost in thought, began to wonder if they could truly succeed where others had fallen. It reminded him that this world belonged to the strong, and he felt the crushing weight of his own inadequacies. Standing there, Su Yang found himself questioning if his destiny was to live a life of mediocrity, a pauper forever beneath the feet of these powerful hunters. But before he could finish his thought, a system window appeared in front of him, revealing that it had detected a host with a perfect soul. The boss part-time system was about to bind to him. Su Yang stood frozen in shock, watching as a blue light began to gather and swirl around his chest. He stared at the system screen in front of him, his mind racing with questions. What was happening? Was this system some kind of cheat? And what exactly did part-time boss mean? Before he could process it all, the system informed him that the loading was complete and revealed its purpose. The boss part-time system required Su Yang to act as a dungeon boss, tasked with resisting players attempting to raid the dungeon. If he killed a player, he would share in the experience and receive any equipment drops. The system prompted him, asking if he wanted to activate this role. Su Yang's thoughts swirled as he read through the system prompts. The idea of becoming a boss and fighting against players was daunting. He remembered that when players raided dungeon bosses, they usually formed teams, anywhere from small squads of 4 to massive groups of 100 players. The potential rewards, however, were undeniable. If he could defeat them, the experience points alone could catapult him from his current level 1 status to the Transcendence level almost instantly. Even the most average warrior could become powerful with such an advantage. But a critical question lingered: what would happen if he were defeated? As he weighed the risks, another system prompt appeared, noting that he was unresponsive and that the system would soon unbind. A countdown began, startling Su Yang as he hadn't considered the possibility of losing the system entirely. He realized that while this opportunity promised immense power, it also carried significant risks. The countdown dropped from 5 as Su Yang struggled to make a decision. He didn't want to face the danger of being killed as a dungeon boss, but at the same time, he couldn't bear the thought of remaining weak and being trampled on forever. This was his chance to break free from his current limitations. As the timer ticked down, Su Yang made his decision. He would take the risk. With determination in his eyes, he told the system that he was ready to start his part-time job as a dungeon boss. As Su Yang pressed the yes button, the system chimed, confirming that he had chosen the part-time role. The system activated, and soon, Su Yang's body began to fade away. A new message appeared, indicating that the part-time teleportation had been initiated, and he would be transported shortly. As the sensation of being teleported washed over him, Su Yang silently prayed, hoping to be assigned a powerful boss role. When he opened his eyes, he found himself under a crimson sky, standing in the middle of a vast valley surrounded by towering mountains. The landscape was teeming with monsters, all exuding an intimidating aura. Su Yang took in the sight, scanning the area, and immediately noticed that the monsters roaming the valley were no ordinary creatures. Their levels ranged from 80 to 95, a startling revelation. He realized they were all dragon-type monsters, but something seemed off. They appeared smaller than he had imagined, as his impression of dragons had always been of towering, majestic beings. As he stood there, still processing the situation, something even more shocking happened. The monsters began bowing before him, one of them speaking reverently, addressing Su Yang as their noble king, and asking if he had finally awakened from his long slumber. Internally, Su Yang was taken aback, questioning if they had really just called him their king. He could barely believe it. Was he truly the king of these dragons? Looking down at himself, Su Yang examined his new form. He couldn't be sure, but a creeping suspicion began to form in his mind. Could it be that he had been transformed into the legendary boss of the Black Dragon's lair? The answer came quickly, as the system congratulated him on his successful transformation, revealing that his current boss form was none other than the level 99 Black Dragon, Black Flame Wing. Unsure of his current state, Su Yang opens his stats panel, which reveals that he has transformed into the level 99 boss Black Dragon Athos, presently in its young stage. The panel displays his impressive stats, 5 million health, dark attributes belonging to the dragon race, and over 1,000 points in all other statistics. His dragon talents grant him immunity to 80% of both magical and physical damage and bestow him with masterful control over fire elements, allowing him to unleash devastating black flames without depleting his resources, inflicting massive magical damage. Additionally, his dragon suppression talent reduces all attributes of creatures below his level by 20%. Seeing these stats, Su Yang struggles to believe that these are indeed the capabilities of the Wing of Black Flame, considering them exceedingly powerful. A level 99 player in the fourth transformation might typically break one attribute, but the Wing of Black Flame not only breaks all attributes but also boasts a formidable strength of over 3,000 points. However, what truly astounds him are the talents he possesses: dual resistance to physical and magical damage by 80% and an attribute reduction aura of 20%. Together, these abilities render him nearly invincible. Coupled with his exclusive skills, no player could realistically challenge him. Feeling an overwhelming surge of power through his draconic form and feeling extraordinarily revitalized, Su Yang lets out a menacing roar. Su Yang believes that if he can defeat players and absorb their experience points, he can level up quickly, even if his original form as a warrior is weak. As he surveys his surroundings, he notices the sudden wailing of monsters nearby, all collapsing to the ground in terror. One of the creatures begs their dragon king to calm his anger, pleading for mercy. Realizing that the monsters are paralyzed with fear and unable to move, Su Yang understands that he unintentionally triggered the dragon roar skill. Maintaining his composure, Su Yang looks down at the monsters, ordering them to rise and calling them worthless, thinking this is how a boss should behave. The trembling monsters now fully believe that Su Yang is indeed their king, recognizing his immense power even in his youth. They think that once he matures, crushing the human world will be effortless. Su Yang recalls that the information he saw mentioned he was still in his youth and wonders why, as typical bosses in instance dungeons are usually fixed at a certain level. He speculates whether the Wing of Black Flame might actually have the ability to level up. While pondering the nature of his possessed body, his attention shifts to a nearby cage containing a captive elf. The elf, struggling to stand, accuses the dragon of evil deeds and demands her release, threatening that the elven race will ensure he pays for his actions if he doesn't comply. As Su Yung examined the captive closely, he was surprised to discover that she was an elf, and even more astonished that there was an NPC present in the instance. He recalled that after the game merged with the real world, various fantasy races had appeared, but this was the first time he had encountered real elves. However, before they could interact further, both Su Yung and the elf sensed a spatial disturbance and began to wonder what was happening. The elf looked toward the source of the disruption, her gaze filled with gratitude as she realized a player had arrived. She referred to them as a hero and believed they had come to rescue her. The elf attempted to warn Su Yung that his doom was imminent, but before she could finish, she noticed the dragon staring at her with contempt. Puzzled, she asked why he was looking at her that way, internally noting that the dragon typically ignored her insults. She wondered why he was suddenly reacting today. Su Yung, hearing her bold declarations, realized that the intruder must be from the Spirit Hunt Guild. He hadn't expected them to arrive so soon. Knowing that the Spirit Hunt Guild had a reputation for flawless strategies, Su Yung considered whether they posed a real threat. Although the Black Dragon was immensely powerful, he reasoned that the guild must have thoroughly prepared before taking on such a formidable challenge. To err on the side of caution, Su Yung used a skill to gather information about the guild's approach and discovered that the members were discussing their plan, reminding each other to stay vigilant and emphasizing that today's strategy must not fail. As Su Yung focused on the approaching group, he observed the 4 players, all over level 90 and in their 4th transformation, marking them as the core assault team of the Spirit Hunt Guild. One of the guild members loudly declared that today they would penetrate the Black Dragon's lair and defeat the dragon, confident that doing so would bring them closer to reaching the coveted 5th transformation. Hearing their bold proclamations, Su Yung couldn't help but think they were quite confident in their abilities. From his vantage point inside the dragon's lair, Su Yung overheard one of the guild members informing the guild master that they had detected a group of small monsters up ahead, 8 flying magic wolves, with an average level of 80 and wind attributes. What the guild didn't realize was that Su Yung had intentionally sent these monsters to test them. As the flying creatures drew closer, the guild master ordered the team not to waste time on such low-level enemies, instructing the tanks to handle them up front while the others used fire attribute attacks at maximum output. The team swiftly dispatched the wolves without breaking a sweat, and the guild master commanded them to maintain formation and keep advancing. Watching this unfold, Su Yung wasn't surprised by the Spirit Hunt Guild's efficiency. He noted that, in both firepower and discipline, they were exceptional, recognizing that the lower-level monsters stood no chance against such a professional team. Realizing that these small creatures weren't even scratching the surface of the guild's full capabilities, Su Yung decided to escalate the challenge. He ordered his elite monsters to engage the guild, figuring that a team of this caliber deserved a tougher fight to truly test their strength. The guild master, assessing the situation, asked about their progress within the instance. A member reported that they had cleared about 1/10 of it so far, with supplies holding up well and no casualties to date. Pleased with this update, the guild master applauded the team's efforts and encouraged them to keep pushing forward. However, the atmosphere quickly shifted when one of the members suddenly froze in shock, leaving the guild master perplexed. A monster had unexpectedly appeared behind them, seemingly falling from the sky. The guild members, caught off guard, questioned their leader about the creature, with one of them frantically pointing out its overwhelming stats, urging the others to take a closer look. As confusion and panic spread through the ranks, the newly arrived level 95 elite monster declared that intruders had been detected. The guild master quickly assessed the situation, identifying the creature as an elite monster, and immediately ordered everyone to brace for defense. But before the guild members could properly organize themselves, the elite monster teleported, catching the guild master by surprise, and launched a sudden attack on the rear of the team, which was still unprepared. Just as the attack was about to land, the tanker arrived in the nick of time, activating their Divine Lightning Shield, a powerful ability that granted immunity to all damage for 10 seconds, though it had a 300-second cooldown. Seizing the moment, the archer began preparing their Storm Arrow attack and called out to the team not to panic. He directed the ranged fighters, referred to as squishes, to fall back while the melee fighters were instructed to engage the monster head-on. He also reminded the team to align their buffs and focus fire on the elite monster to take it down efficiently. As the archer's arrow struck the elite monster in the head, it let out a pained grumble. Su Yung, observing from a distance, noted that the monster had some strength, but ultimately, a single dragon warrior wasn't enough to pose a real threat to the Spirit Hunt Guild. Meanwhile, the elf casually remarked that Su Yang had startled her, thinking he was plotting something serious, only to realize that he was merely sending his underlings to their deaths. However, her confidence wavered as Su Yang, unfazed, summoned more of his elite monsters. He mused that if one wasn't enough, perhaps the other 6 would make an impact, and without hesitation, he dropped them all in front of the guild. The sudden appearance of 6 additional elite monsters shocked the guild members. They scrambled to make sense of what was happening, with one of them pointing out in alarm that all of the creatures were elites. Panic began to set in as one member told the guild master that they were outnumbered, expressing fear that they had never encountered so many elite monsters at once. He anxiously asked the guild master for guidance. The guild master, gritting his teeth, acknowledged that something was off about today but quickly regained his composure. He shouted to his team, reminding them that elite monsters were nothing to be afraid of and that the Spirit Hunt Guild had never been known to back down from a challenge. Confidently, he declared that elite monsters were his specialty. As the battle began, the guild master commanded the team to get into formation. He emphasized the importance of healing the injured as a priority and instructed the tanks to maintain aggro, ensuring the monsters were always facing away from the rest of the team. With the guild's discipline and coordination in place, the fight against the 6 elite monsters commenced, with each member playing their role to mitigate damage and maximize their offensive output. As Su Yang continued observing the Spirit Hunt Guild, he couldn't help but remark on their resilience. Despite his initial assumption that throwing elite monsters and unexpected situations at them would force them to retreat, they had instead chosen to fight until the end. Internally, he acknowledged their tenacity, while the elf on the sidelines, impressed by the players, mockingly told Su Yang that his tricks wouldn't work and that he should accept his impending demise. However, Su Yang began to wonder if the guild's current strength was truly enough to defeat him as a boss. He questioned whether they had any hidden strategies or unplayed cards. His thoughts shifted when he noticed something strange: the guild wasn't advancing toward him. Instead, they were moving in the opposite direction. Curious, Su Yang closely examined the map and noticed their path led toward the Dragon Slayer's tomb. He questioned what they might be after, focusing on the glowing light on a skeleton within the tomb. The system then revealed that the glowing object was the Dragon Slayer's heart, a quest item that allowed its wearer to ignore the talents of dragons. Upon seeing this, Su Yang's expression darkened with fury. The implications of the item enraged him, as he realized how dangerous it could be for him. His subordinates, sensing his anger, grew anxious, wondering what had caused such a reaction. Su Yang, piecing it together, understood exactly what the guild was attempting. It mirrored the strategies from many online games where, when facing a nearly invincible boss with immense resistance, players could weaken the boss through specific mechanisms or items. In this case, if the guild acquired the Dragon Slayer's heart and gained the ability to bypass his talents, they might indeed stand a chance of defeating him. Realizing this, Su Yang knew that he couldn't allow them to succeed in retrieving the item. As the elf clung to her cage, buffeted by a sudden gust of wind that rocked her prison, she could hardly believe what was happening. She knew the trigger point for the black dragon wasn't close, and it seemed impossible that the dragon would leave its lair so soon. Yet, as Su Yang took to the skies, his massive wings creating shockwaves that rattled the earth, the monsters beneath him praised their king, wondering aloud if he was truly about to take action. They believed with certainty that their king would triumph in whatever battle awaited him. Flying swiftly, Su Yang realized the Spirit Hunt Guild already knew about the Dragon Slayer's heart and understood he couldn't let them claim it. Increasing his speed, the ground beneath him cracked and shattered from the force of his takeoff. Meanwhile, as the Spirit Hunt Guild advanced toward the item, their guild leader remarked on the numerous surprises they'd faced since entering the instance, but expressed relief that no major complications had arisen on their path to the Dragon Slayer's heart. The vice leader, however, raised concerns about the higher-than-expected consumption of their supplies and equipment durability, wondering if they had been misled by the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. The guild leader dismissed the possibility, assuring his team that the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, a renowned strategy group, had provided a trustworthy plan. He confidently added that he had exchanged the Universe Ring for this strategy, and there was no way it could be fake. One of the blonde members then expressed concerns about their proximity to the Black Dragon's lair, wondering if any more unexpected events could alert the boss. The guild master reassured him, confidently stating that it was highly unlikely. He explained that the Black Dragon was just a boss in an instance, with power but limited intelligence. As long as they didn't provoke it, there was no reason for the dragon to leave its lair early, calming the blonde members' worries. The guild leader confidently remarked that the black dragon was merely a stepping stone for their guild, and after all the trouble it had caused them, he planned to take everything back from it. The blonde member of the team smirked with a malicious grin and reassured the guild leader that the black dragon was as good as his. However, his true interest lay elsewhere. He had been eyeing the elf maiden for quite some time. He explained to the guild leader that completing the elf maiden's Easter egg quest would not only grant them a pass to the elven kingdom, but also cause the elf maiden to follow their commands. Laughing darkly, he hinted at his intentions, asking the guild leader if he understood what he meant. The guild leader grinned back, telling the blonde member that once they secured the dragon slayer's heart, victory would be theirs, and at that point, he could do whatever he wanted with the elf. Suddenly, a massive shadow loomed over the team, catching them off guard. Some of the guild members assumed it was a group of scattered monsters approaching and questioned if they were small flying dragons. Others wondered aloud why flying monsters would be there in the first place. The guild leader, flipping through his guidebook, told the team to hold their position, speculating that the flying dragons were likely just guard monsters. However, the vice guild leader, staring at the sky, pointed out that the creature's size didn't match any flying dragon they had encountered before. As the rest of the team began to notice the overwhelming scale of the shadow, shock and fear spread among them. In a thunderous landing, Su Yang, in the form of the black dragon Athos, descended in front of the guild, towering over them with his immense form. The realization struck the group instantly: this was no mere guard monster. They were face to face with the boss, the Wing of Black Flame. The guild master stood in stunned disbelief, questioning why the black dragon, the boss they thought would remain in its lair, was now appearing here. The vice guild leader, glaring at the situation, cursed under his breath, believing that the heavenly mechanism pavilion had truly deceived them. The blonde member, visibly shaken, asked what they should do now, pointing out that without the dragon slayer's heart, there was no way they could hope to defeat the dragon. He urged the guild master to consider retreating, leaving the guild master speechless. Meanwhile, Su Yang, towering above them, observed their panic with cold amusement. He pondered whether the supposedly invincible Spirit Hunt Guild had now been reduced to fear without the one item that could turn the tide. To him, this was an excellent opportunity. He could wipe them out in one go, absorbing all the experience points and leveling up effortlessly. As Su Yang prepared to strike, one of the guild members realized what was coming and, in a desperate panic, prepared to flee. But before they could act, the guild master unleashed a bolt of lightning, striking the guild member down and leaving him stunned. Surrounded by arcs of crackling lightning, the guild master barked out an order: no one was allowed to leave. He ordered his team back into their positions, his voice unwavering. "Is there anything we can't fight?" he demanded, reminding them that their guild was anything but weak. With a fierce determination, he rallied his team, promising them generous rewards, whether they sought money, women, or powerful equipment, if they could slay the dragon. The morale of the team surged, with members shouting their intentions to kill the dragon and some even laying claim to the elf, much to Su Yang's growing annoyance. As Su Yang listened to their ramblings, his eyes narrowed. Their arrogance grated on him, and he addressed them in a low, menacing tone, inviting them to come at him if they truly believed they could win. The Spirit Hunt Guild members, now emboldened by their leader's promise, fell back into formation, preparing for an all-out attack. They exchanged words of encouragement, vowing to give it everything they had as they steeled themselves for the fight of their lives against the Wing of Black Flame. Thank you guys for watching till the end. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.